Major Alan Young checked the Harrier II Plus's heads-up display, put a few ounces of pressure on the throttle with his left hand, and adjusted the trim with his right thumb. Far below the Harrier, the arid mountains of Afghanistan's Hindu Kush range rose and fell away, invisible in the darkness as the plane banked to starboard. Deep in those mountains, a MARSOC team was already on the ground, working to secure an asset from a remote rebel base. Alan knew what he needed to know to complete his mission, and was not interested in knowing more. It hadn't always been so, but he had learned the discipline of incuriosity, a gift his old flight instructor had been fond of saying, that kept on giving. You don't need to understand the nail to be the hammer. How many times had Alan heard that? 100? 1,000? And he heard it now, felt it in his bones with the hard, cold certainty of truth beyond faith. He had his mission, which, God willing, would be uneventful, a routine patrol in support of ground operations. If it became anything more than routine, and when you're pulling 400 knots at altitude, nothing is truly routine, then something had gone wrong. Alan had been flying AV-8Bs, Harriers, for 8 years, 3 of them in Iraq, and the last 2 in Afghanistan, the culmination of his 12 years as a Marine. He'd flown dozens of sorties and never seen a bogey, but that was hardly surprising. The enemies he'd faced had no air power to speak of. It was their GBAD systems and shoulder-fired SAM missiles he had to watch out for, and overconfidence. But Alan had that under control. He'd let it out again once he'd returned to base, but until he was RTB, there was no place for that Top Gun swagger up here. In ancient Rome, he'd once read, a legionary who put the lives of his comrades in jeopardy through cowardice, stupidity, or some other disciplinary failure would be beaten to death in front of his unit. That seemed about right. Unquestioning loyalty to your superiors and to your comrades, and the discipline to act upon it, regardless of the circumstances, was the frame, the purpose of your skills, your life. Alan Young happened to fly a $30 million airplane, but in his heart, he was simply a Marine. The lead forward air controller on the ground was Sergeant Barry Regis, a great bull of a man who had once, long ago and a world away, been the heart of an offensive line which had protected Alan when he had played quarterback for Monroe High back in North Carolina. Go Red Hawks. It was a long and deep friendship that crossed lines of class, color, rank, and branch of service. Regis was also a pilot, but, like other facts, he was serving a ground tour and seemed to have found his calling.